What is stopping us from having a DJ association as DJs? Because we cannot keep complaining about tariffs that we are supposed to pay when we do not have an organization that actually stands for us. We need structures that stand with us. Okay? As you have seen, Nigeria have built a structure. Failure to obtain a valid copyright license can lead to prosecution in small claims courts and fine up to 800,000 shillings. You are locked into the Vinyl Space podcast, and I'm your host JoeFlex, and welcome to our second episode. And before doing the sana, I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you that has supported us in our first episode. The DMs, the comments. You guys have actually, some of you have called, man. Watu wametupigia simu, and we are really appreciative of that. And may that continue, because the whole purpose of the Vinyl Space podcast is for us to be able to learn, right? And in this episode, things are quite different. And as you can see, I'm alone on set because today it's not an interview or more of a conversation with someone on set, but rather a conversation between me and you, and us being able to audit 1-2 things as DJs. And we'll not only be looking at here in Kenya, but we're also going to cross across borders and look at our neighbors in Uganda, in Tanzania, and also in countries that we import DJ talent from, and that is South Africa and Nigeria. Our main topic today is around licensing, right? And this is a topic that always comes up after 2 years or after 1 year, and it is when the government actually says that DJs are required to pay a license fee, that is an annual payment. And this year, we were told that we are supposed to pay an annual payment of 20,000 shillings. And out of that Coca-Cola story, we made content about it. It was written on blogs and every other place, right? But then today, let's just look at it from a structural point of view, right? So here in Kenya, we have bodies such as Kekobo. Kekobo is a regulatory body that actually offers licenses to CMOs that protect artists, performers, and musicians. And the CMOs in charge of that is Pavrisk and Camp. So Pavrisk and Camp are the people that are actually telling you that you have to pay 20,000 shillings. And the sole reason is because the music that you use is not yours. So the person who made the music and the team that made the music need to be paid. And this is why we pay the 20,000 shillings. So our conversation has always been around, is it fair or not? And should a DJ pay? That's not a conversation that we'll get into today, but most definitely we'll get into the conversation some other time when we have someone who understands that better and is from that body to explain to us. Now, something caught my eye as I was doing research around this topic. And what caught my eye was the fact that under the 2026 to 2028 consolidated tariff, mobile DJs, apart from paying the 20,000 shillings, the venues that we play at on a regular basis, such as clubs, considered as discotheques, do pay a license of not less than 150,000 shillings per year. And that is depending on location and size. So when I talk about 150,000 shillings per year, I am talking about clubs that are in Nairobi. So that's 150,000 shillings and above, depending on size and location. For clubs that are outside Nairobi, pay nothing less than 80,000 shillings. And this information is actually on the Kekobo, Pavrisk, and Camp websites, right? And I was looking at all that and I was wondering, now what happens when this amount is not paid? And it says failure to obtain a valid copyright license can lead to prosecution in small claims courts and fine up to 800,000 shillings. Now, the question is, DJs and the clubs that you play in, how many of us have these licenses? And if today a crackdown was actually done, how many of us would fall into hot soup? And again, I also ask, are these monies collected? I don't know about that. Now, if you've been quietly assuming that you pay, you actually need to know who do you pay to. Because paying to the wrong CMO actually means that you've not paid and you're considered as someone who has infringed on copyrights and you're using somebody's material. But then I decided, let me look further and let me see, is this thing just about us? And I decided to go to our neighboring countries, that is Uganda, Tanzania, and as I mentioned, South Africa and Nigeria. And in Uganda, they have quite a different system because in Uganda, they have a body known as UPRS. And UPRS is the single recognized collecting society. They collect, okay? And UPRS licenses venues, that is clubs, bars, hotels, etc., where performances actually happen, but not the DJ directly. Okay? So note that no, in Uganda, actually DJs do not pay like here in Kenya we are required to do. And I'm not so sure about this, and I would love our people in Uganda, DJs in Uganda, talk to us, let us know about this whole thing. And recently UPRS posted and they said that their biggest payout has been 216 million Ugandan money. That totals up to around 6.1 or 7.2 million Kenyan money. That was for the year 2025. And it's actively renegotiating hotel tariffs right now. Okay? So that is our Ugandan brothers. And the protection of a DJ, for you to be protected for these licenses, you have to know if the venue has actually paid. Because according to information, DJs in Uganda don't pay this amount of money. So let's go to Tanzania and look at what happens in Tanzania. And in Tanzania, they have a body known as COSOTA. And COSOTA is under the Ministry of Information, Culture, Arts and Sports. Okay? It was established in 1999 under Section 46 of the Copyright and Neighbouring Rights Act number 7. It's a regulatory body just as Kekobo. But then something caught my eye. And one thing about Tanzania is just same as Uganda, that DJs are not required to pay directly a fee. But then the venues that they play in are the ones that actually pay these fees. Okay? And the fines for unauthorized use of copyright material goes up to 20 million Tanzanian shillings. I think it's like Kenyans were the only ones paying AMA. And let's jump to South Africa. South Africa has 2 separate mandatory licenses. And one is given by SAMRO, which covers performance rights. That is the composition. And we have SAMPRA that covers needle time rights. So that's the actual recording. And this goes out to artists. Now, I was looking through to see how DJs play part in this. And guess what? In South Africa, DJs do not pay as well. So, and it says South Africa has the most sorted on paper system, and it catches DJs out. So, Uganda is not paying, Tanzania is not paying, South Africa is not paying. Let's jump to Nigeria. And in Nigeria, there's a system that is it's interesting because this is one thing I would say as Kenyan DJs we have failed to do. But then, before I get to that, let's jump and see what Nigeria does. So Nigeria has a body known as NCC. And NCC is a regulatory body. And there's another body known as MCSN, which is currently the sole approved CMO but it has a rival one, okay? Just like the case where we have MCSK, Camp and Prisk here, okay? But then MCSN has an MOU, that's a Memorandum of Understanding, with what we call DJAN. DJAN stands for the Disc Jockey Association of Nigeria. Nigeria have a DJ association. In Nairobi, we failed to have that, right? But then, let's learn. So, the Disc Jockey Association of Nigeria has negotiated a deal with the MCSN, which is the collecting body, the CMO, and they have a deal whereby the Disc Jockeys Association pay a blanket fee that covers every DJ that is registered. Okay, so DJs do not require to pay 20,000 individually. They've come together and they have a pool and they have an agreement with the CMO of how much they pay collectively. So for those of us who keep asking what is the importance of having a DJ association, you can actually learn from Nigerians. And I don't know, why are the Nigerian brothers here not teaching us about these things? So recently, NCC's Director General publicly warned DJs of prosecution or a minimum of not less than 1 million naira in fines. Okay? So if you're caught with no operating license, you stand to be fined 1 million naira or up to 5 years of imprisonment. This is quite a thing, right? That begs down to us here. What is stopping us from having a DJ association as DJs? What is really stopping us from coming together and coming up with an association that can speak for us? An association that can sit on the table and speak to the government about DJs in Kenya. Because we cannot keep complaining about tariffs that we are supposed to pay when we do not have an organization that actually stands for us. You know, the whole conversation when we talk about licensing comes out as complaining. And complaints are not going to move us anywhere because we need structures that stand with us. Okay? As you have seen, Nigeria have built a structure. And they're able to negotiate through an MOU on how much is supposed to be paid. Kenyan DJs, I think we need to do better.